well, it's time to move on to actually installing the shifter. I went ahead in the back there, and the seat back, I got it situated to where the seat back's not going to come loose anymore. Seat bottom is where it's supposed to be. Carpet is better. Windlace is fixed. Now, how do you end up going from shifter to working in the back seat? Just, give a moose a muffin. I don't know if you've ever read that kid's book, but that's just how things go. But anyway, I moved on. We got back up here to the shifter. I've got it pretty well located where I want, I think, here on the floor. I've got my handy dandy Bauer brand new 17-piece titanium drill bit set. So I'm going ahead and kind of made a mark on the floor for the first one and get it where I want it. Make sure it's not walking around. And take the drill bit and just mark the spots that I'm going to drill. And I can set it out of the way. And there's a little bit of movement in this, so I should be able to. Yeah, I can see where I made them. I need to step out and buy one of those high-dollar paint pens. I see people using, yeah, high-dollar. Anyway, let's get the drill. Should be a 1/4 inch. Let's use the chuck. Strap your chuck to your extension cord on the drill, and you won't have to worry about trying to find it. I have to come in here and vacuum all this up. Three of them are right. This muck here may be off. Not a great big deal though. Let's see if they are 1/4 inch. I'm sure they are. No, they're not 1/4 inch. They're a little bigger. They're not very long either. Make sure I got the right ones. Yeah, that looks like them, but they're actually bigger than 1/4 inch. I wonder if I've got some screws mixed up on the shifter itself. I don't know, but let's make them holes a little bigger. Well, there we go. I went up, thought they were 1/4. We moved it up to 5/16. Used the same hole, except that one hole there on the right rear corner. We kind of fattened it up just a little bit, and it was just right. Didn't have to get carried away, but got the screws sticking in the holes. They're through the floor, and I'm going to crawl underneath, and we're going to look and see how much is sticking through. If we'll be able to get a nut started on them. So let me get my cardboard down here and slide under, and we'll see. All right, so where we left off, I think, was last night, and I had that shifter had the bolts going through it. Okay, before I remove those bolts, you see these tabs and these bolts here on either side. The instructions indicate for you to get that located with the bolts and then tighten those pieces. Okay, that way it locks down kind of where the shifter's going to be. All right, and you've got these locked so that the shifter can't rock. All right, and you want to make sure that you have enough room to move the shifter between the seat and the dash. That you have enough adjustment, and that the shifter will work between, like I said, between the seat and the dash. Now, I got the bolts out. I'm going to bring it out here, and I'm going to do my best to try to explain this so that it makes some semblance of sense. It took a little while for it to make sense for me putting it together. the more further along I went, the more I understood and the more sense it made. So let me get it out here and set it up and explain this. All right, so here is your handy dandy LOKAR shifter. It's no longer on the floor. This piece right here, I think it's actually this piece up here, this piece of aluminum is called a quad arm. Okay, this is what actually is splined on the shaft and has a set screw at the top. Okay, and you have to put it on so that it is located in the 4:30 to 5 o'clock position of the arm. But you want it to be as far back as possible without touching where your hole's going to be in the floor. Okay, and then you want to be able to take and you need to measure what the throw of this arm is so that you can cut your slot. One thing I want to show you is, let me turn this arm around and bring it around there. If you will look right straight down where the arm is going to throw, it is in alignment between this hole and this hole. Okay, it's almost a straight shot, so you're going to have to cut a slot in the floor if you mount this to the top of the floor like I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a measurement from this bolt hole, the back edge of this bolt hole, to where this arm is right here, and probably fatten it this way just a little bit, make it to where that the arm is not going to hit, and then I'm going to measure it and I will cut a slot the length of the swing of that arm. Alright, so I have figured out, I think, the best way to try to get an accurate measurement for the slot that you have to cut for this arm right here. What you want to do is bring your shifter all the way down to far forward as you can get it into low. You'll take your tape measure and you're going to measure from your arm here to a known spot right here at the back edge of this bracket right here. You'll take and put your tape measure in there. That comes out to 3 3/8. Alright, so now take your shifter and put it back all the way forward back into park. Take your tape measure and line it back up with 3 3/8. If I can get my, there we go. And look and see where that leaves you. How much swing, you can tell how much swing your shift arm had. If I could be still for a second, that would probably tell me. And it looks to be right at 3 inches. So your arm moved 3 inches. So that tells me that your hole is going to need to be 3 inches long. And as we discussed a few minutes ago, and it so it lines up again, the swing it can't be, in your shifter arm cannot be like this. It cannot come back and touch this bracket. It cannot. That is a no-no. Alright. Anyway, the bracket arm, if you, like I said, if you look right straight down the bracket arm, it lines up pretty stinking close with the bolt holes, straight across to the bolt holes. So that should be enough to tell you where you need to cut your hole in line with that arm. And measuring from the back of the hole to where I'm going to put my cut, it looks like I need to measure inside on the floor pan about between 7/8 of an inch to 1 inch. you can always make it a little bit bigger, and if you got a welder, you can make it smaller. So we're going to start the hole at 1 inch from the back of this hole in the floor pan. Well, I have an air saw, body saw, and I've got some more blades. We're going to give this one a go and see if it's good enough. But sometimes these body saws can get a little wild, and but they don't give off sparks like a cutting wheel. And inside this finished car, I'd prefer not to be making slinging a bunch of sparks around. So let's get swapped up with some time lapse, and let's see if I can cut this hole. Well, we got the hole cut. We started trying to fit the shifter into the hole, and we're running into a slight problem. When you put this quad arm, or this shift arm, they call it the quad arm, onto the shifter itself, what's happening is it will not go completely flat and sit back where it was. This is either, I would say, is angled not quite right, or is too long. But I've been underneath. I've already determined what I'm going to have to do. And what I will need to do is I will need to angle this piece. I'll have to bend it here so it's less of an angle, and then I will have to re-angle this side so that it is flat back in line with this piece here. So if I angle this down, that means I'll have to angle this back up, just this piece back up so that it's straight. And that should give me clearance, because what it's doing right here is it's coming up on hitting the inside of the tunnel. And I think that if I can, like I said, angle this down, and then the pivot point right here where the heim joint bolts to it, take and bring it back straight with this arm, it should give me enough clearance. There's enough clearance between the transmission and the arm. It's just to the drive tunnel, not quite enough. So I think I have had, in the last 48 hours, about an hour and a half of sleep. I'm running the ragged edge. So I'm fixing to get ready to take a shower and go to bed. While I'm doing that, why don't you go check out another video coming on the screen right now.